The long-awaited interview is finally happening. So this interview was supposed to be my first episode because it's from somebody who aspires me, who is a friend to me, and also a role model. But before any of that, she's a mother, an engineer, industrial engineer, and a manager. Lebo, finally, welcome to my channel. Welcome to Career and Corporate Hub.
Thank you so much. It's really an honor. Much awaited journey, much anticipated.
Yes.
So really interested to be here.
Yeah.
But I also want to say congratulations to you.
Thank you.
You're doing incredibly well, and I'm so proud of you. You know, it's really an honor.
I feel like hugging you.
Thank you.
So I contacted Level last year December, I think, or November.
Yes.
Just before we closed, I was like, oh, I'm starting this channel and I would like to interview you on your career journey. And you were like, sure, I'm actually behind. Like, also, it's something that you're also very much interested in.
Correct.
Yeah,
Yes.
like inspiring. How can I motivating youth, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm keen and motivating the youth. We had a conversation. We had the same thought.
Yes.
You reached out and then you said, hey, Lebo, can you please be on my channel?
Yes, and I wanted to start with you because, I mean, your career journey is very interesting and very inspiring at the same time. When I look at it, you broke so many barriers.
Oh, wow.
And you're still continuing. Like you get to a certain position where one would think that you'd be comfortable, you'd relax, but still you're still continuing. So let's just start from the beginning, like in the 90 something.
88.
And you look young, by the way. She's turning. Can you believe it? Like mid-30s. But we're getting
Crazy.
old. We're getting old.
It's crazy.
So let's start there. Like your career, actually your primary schooling and your high school schooling. Yeah, where did you start?
So Lebo, like you said, born and bred in a small town, Benoni. I think a lot of people are quite familiar with it, thanks to Charlize Theron. But actually not Benoni. So I come from the township Davidton. You know, it's quite small. It's in the East Rand, like I said. Primary school, I went to Bonero Park. It's actually a co-ed primary school in Kempton Park. You know, it was one of the few, because when we started, it was like in 1996, I think, or something like that. So it was during the time where the transformation was actually happening. My dad made the brave decision to say, I want to take my child to a co-ed school, and Bonero Park and Kempton Park happened to be one of those co-ed schools, you know. Fast forward, high school, I went to Wordsworth High School. I think you interviewed my Lebo.
Yeah.
We went to the same high school. Also same co-ed high school. To be honest with you, nothing fancy. You know, normal co-ed school that we went to.
What do you mean, nothing fancy?
The thing is, people would assume that if you are in a management position now, you probably went to a private school. I think in this day and age, there's a big buzz on private schools. My child was not going to a private school, you know. And don't get me wrong, there are key takeaways when it comes to private schools, you know. It's very much advanced. But I believe also as a parent, you have a role to play when it comes to your kids' development, you know. So I don't think the youngsters must get discouraged if they don't have the opportunity to go to a private school.
Yeah. And really now there's like too much pressure from like which school you go to or which school your child goes to, which I'm going to touch on that a little bit later. Because it's really one of the things that inspire me when I look at you. But let's just start. Let's start with your career. And then you did industrial engineering at UNISA.
Correct.
And that was correspondence.
Correct.
How was that? Like, how did you stay disciplined?
First thing is, so when I was in high school, right, did the right subjects, did everything. Unfortunately, my father passed away while I was still in high school. He was like, thank you so much. He was like the educator of the family. He was the guy with the plan who made things happen. The guy who told you next year you're going to this high school, this is what you're studying. I pretty much came from a family like that where I was told what you were gonna do because my career was pretty much planned for me. And when we lost my father, of course, I was just living life. And when I got to high school, I was like, what then?
Yeah, I remember
You know?
when you mentioned how it happened, like how did it affect you? I mean, looking at you from his passing and now you are a manager, somebody would have thought that like it would have affected your growth or your career. Yeah.
So that foundation is important, and again, it starts from an early stage. He left the foundation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And of course, I mean, it was during my high school years. I think it was the beginning of grade 9, this peer pressure. There's a lot of things that happen. And I went through that cycle. But again, that grounding and that foundation reminded me of who I was. And he had instilled some good principles in me, you know? Whereas when I was in this vicious cycle where I was trying to find myself, I couldn't connect with those things, you know, which then made me to go back to how I was brought up, you know, and that really played like a big role in my life. I mean, when my father passed away, my grandfather took over that responsibility, so he was just as tough, you know. So it's not like I had free wills and free wins and stuff like that. I still had that person that was still holding me accountable, which was my grandfather.
Yeah, which I can relate to when you said you need to play a role in your child's development. It's not only the school.
Correct.
So now, really, when you spoke about the foundation that we build,
correct,
it goes back to like early childhood development is very important.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
But going back to answering your question, because you asked me why UNISA and how did I end up in UNISA. So I lost that structured planning through that process. I wasn't informed. This is why I love your platform. I wasn't informed. Someone, I don't know whether it was misinformed or at the time it was something that was quite common. Someone had said to me, don't worry, man, next year you can go to these different institutions. During January, there's an intake. You know? Like, there's still an opportunity.
So you basically didn't apply.
I did not apply. That's my story. Honestly, I didn't apply because I thought there was still an opportunity for me to do that in January when the schools opened. And there it was, January, there's a rush, and there's a buzz, and there's no space.
Oh my gosh, yeah. It happens to a lot of people. It literally happens to a lot of people. That's why it's important that you apply when you are in matric. Already grade 9, you should already know
what you want to do and all that stuff. So I was misinformed. I didn't know much, and there I was. But I knew that I had to get out of it, you know. And UNISA was my last option. I mean, I went to UJ. It was full. At the time, I wanted to do mechanical engineering. Okay. Everyone wanted to do mechanical engineering at that point. So it was full. I think they had mentioned industrial engineering, but I wasn't familiar with industrial engineering. You know, I thought, I don't know this thing. I'm not going to now do something that I don't know, you know. I went to TUT. TUT was full. And I can't remember, I went to another institution and they said to me, oh no, we've got nothing for you now. You have to go into, there's almost like
an extended program.
Yes, an extended program. And I was like, there's no way I'm going to do that, you know. And at this time now I had known that UNISA was an option. And I was like, okay, let me do it for a year. And now knowing what I know, I will apply, you know, for the second year. And that's how I basically ended up at UNISA.
And you graduated there.
Exactly. And I'm still a UNISA baby. I love UNISA, in fact.
And how was it like studying through UNISA? Like, was it full-time?
Yeah. So,
how was it like?
So this is interesting. And again, the importance of a role as a parent. So applied at UNISA. During this application process, started to understand that UNISA is a long distance, you know, educational system. And I was like, okay, but what does that mean? All my friends are now in institutions. You know, we were in the same situation in high school. We all didn't apply. Fortunately for them, they found gaps and opportunities within other institutions. I'm alone now, you know. I'm in UNISA now. Everyone is moving to Pretoria. And you know what my mom says? My mom says, it's fine, move to Pretoria.
As well.
Move there, you know. But you have to make a promise to me. You're going to study, you know. When the other kids go to school, you're going to lock yourself in your room and you're going to use that opportunity to study.
So there were no classes?
I had no classes. I had no idea what I was doing. But I used my friends as a reference. So I knew that the interesting about UNISA and engineering specifically is that their modules are year modules. They're not semester-based modules, right? So which means if you take a module, if you make the mistake of taking 2 modules, you're stuck with 2 modules for 12 months, which doesn't make sense. So then I started doing the calculation, the reverse calculation. I was like, okay, these guys are going to probably take 6 modules. Finish those 6 and then get another opportunity to take 6. But I was like, there's no way I'm going to take 12 modules in my first year. You know, I don't know what I'm doing. Yeah. So I think at the time, if I recall properly, I took 9 modules. And in my mind, I thought I was crazy. But I was like, I've got 12 months. What am I going to do in 12 months, you know?
9?
I took
How
9
old were
modules.
you at the time?
I was, you leave high school 18, 19, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And I took the 9 modules, and I promise you, like, just every day, I would wake up in the morning like an individual that's going to school. I would bath. I would have do the same routine. My friends and I were living in the same environment. When they walk out the door, I close the door.
And
I study. And I had a schedule. And I was like, today I'm going to study this. And my schedule was based on my assignments as well. You know, because I knew I had to submit this assignment on this day. So I had to prepare myself. And I stuck to the schedule.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, what kept you grounded? Like, it's so tempting. You're alone. There's no one. Yes, I understand the foundation, but still.
No, but the pressure as well.
Okay.
You know, the pressure. When my friends come back from school, they're speaking about what they did and the discussion. And also my mom saying to me, so my mom was very clear in the beginning. She was like, my darling, you know, I'm a single mom now. There's your brother, there's yourself. I'm giving you 4 years to get this thing done. So there was also that pressure from my mom's side to say, it's 4 years, you don't need to be in Pretoria. You are in Pretoria because I want you to not feel like you're alone, you know?
To have like the university
experience, you know? Yeah. So I knew that she was also investing a lot in the process. Yeah. So, and I knew this is it. It's either this or nothing, you know? So I had to also, and I also had to prove for myself. I think I didn't like the outcome of finding myself in a situation where I was like, what now? You know? And I was like, I have to make something out of this. And I did. And also not myself. It's not also about my willpower or anything like that. I made people through the process of UNISA who had different stories to tell. And then we started creating our own classes. And that's the beauty about UNISA. You know, instead, I think for the first 3 months I was by myself. But gradually when I met the people through, because we also had like touch sessions and touch lessons, you know, where the lecturer would say, hey, come, let's meet, you know, for this day and stuff like that. And I meet people there. And now from my little room, it moved from my little room to we're meeting at the library.
Now to learn.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So those kind of things also built me, they helped me, and we managed to get through the process. And funny enough, after my first year, so my mom still forced me, if I put it there. I don't want to say encouraged me. Or she encouraged me to still apply in that first, so in that first, because she was concerned, same question that you asked me, she's like, oh, will you manage, will you cope, this is engineering. But also her concern, maybe to take it a little bit back, came from when I was registering. So I remember that day I was in the line, I was registering, this old man comes up and he says to me, are you in the right line?
And I'm like, yes. Line, I'm
he's
sure.
Like, but I thought he's lost, and he just wants to know, am I in the right line, so he can stand behind me, you know? And then he comes to me and says, are you in the right line? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, okay, but which line is this that you're in? I'm like, no, it's mechanical engineering. He says, you're registering for mechanical engineering? He's like, yeah. He's like, you're not gonna make it. And he literally turned around and he told my mom, and he's like, Mama, she's not gonna make it. So that was still like my mom's concern, like, she's not gonna make it. I think those words stuck in her mind, you know, like, she's not gonna make it, she's not gonna make it. Let's get her into an institution, you know?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So then I registered, fine, fast forward, I registered for institution. UJ accepted me, but I didn't take the offer.
Why?
Because I loved the freedom. Okay. I loved the freedom of studying by myself. I just realized that.
And I'm sure you were passing.
I was passing this one at the time, So I was like, let's see. Yes, I waited for the results. I was like, let's see, because you could, again, your module, you only know if you've passed or failed in November, December. Yeah. I looked at my results and I did well. I passed. I think I only failed one module, and I had to sub the module, you know, like the next year in January, so I could still make it. And I was like, yeah, but I've got this, you know, and
Sure.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, looking at how you did your university, what would be your advice to somebody who is still doing great? It's basically in high school.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
What would be your advice?
Don't do what I did. It's not for the faint-hearted. It's possible. I think that's the story. It's definitely possible if you are in a financial situation, if you are misinformed and you need as your own alternative, take it and run with it.
Yeah.
You know. But if you definitely can influence the process, please do influence it. Do the research. Till this day, when I engage with certain people, my peers, and we speak about the experience, their experience was definitely more rewarding. You know, they've created so much networks in the process. There were key learnings that came out of there. They have mentors who are lecturers and all those things through that process, which I was deprived of, you know. Education was one thing, but what comes out of that process, there's so many things that you can benefit from at life, you know. So I would say definitely go to those career fairs, apply in advance, you know.
Don't wait for your metric results, because most people also wait for their metric results.
No.
But I don't believe I'll pass. So
exactly.
let's wait for the following year. I mean, when the results come, and then you get stranded.
No, don't do that. Please prepare.
Yeah, and now moving over to your career now, like work career. How has it been like? I mean, I did mention in the beginning of the interview that you broke so many barriers.
Yeah.
I'm sure you were one of the first black ladies in the planning department.
Yeah.
I'm not really going to mention the company,
Yes.
but she works for one of the biggest automotive in the world. Not just in South Africa, in the world, globally. So I just want to give you some idea when I'm saying like, hey, like success. I don't know if that's how you define your success, but yeah, like one of the first ladies, and then you worked, I'm not sure for how many years, and then you moved to a different department, and then you became a manager, which was also one of the first black managers, and also not black ladies in the company. How did that come about?
Crazy. When I started in the company, I remember I came in as a graduate. You know, we've got our graduate development program. I came in, and there was this young female white lady. You know, she was part of the department. I don't want to mention names because I'm not sure if I'm allowed to, you know, on your platform.
You can mention her name.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So Taryn was in the department. We were in the same department as
and
well.
She was my mentor.
We were in the same department. And I remember this one day, I said to her, man, what does it take for someone to become a manager?
You asked her.
I did.
She was not a manager.
She was not a manager at the time. I think she just came out of the graduate program and she was a specialist. She was an IE, special industrial engineer. I was a graduate. But you know, as a graduate, you come in with these big dreams. You're like, one day I want to be a manager, I want to be... And when I came in and I saw the people sitting in those positions, I was like, hey, am I in the right place? You know? So I asked her, I said, hey, what does it take to become a manager in this place, you know? And she said, no, man, hard work, dedication. You know Taryn, she's a hard worker. No, hard work, dedication, it's possible level. I will not forget those words. She said, it's possible. Because I was challenging her in that discussion. I said, yeah, but it looks like collectively in the organization, especially in the East London area, maybe 30 odd positions available in the leadership space. I'm like, if I look at the odds, I'm not going to make it, you know? She said, no, don't say that, you know? Do your part, trust the process, and then everything will fall in place. And it did, you know? But speaking about my journey, I started in planning. As an industrial engineer. I was planning processes for about 3.5 years. Very much comfortable in that space. Super comfortable. I was excelling. I felt like I was an expert. I was doing excellent. If you had asked me if I wanted to move, I would have said no. You know? What happened, and it's the beauty of having leaders in this space, you know, leaders who are able to see talent and do something about it. I was fortunate enough that at the time, my level 3, so we have different levels, senior manager in this instance, you know, in the organization, had saw me once upon a time when he was in a different division, saw me having a constructive discussion with someone, you know, and he thought, okay, there's a spark there, you know. I didn't know this. And now, fast forward a couple of years ago, now he's my leader, he's my senior manager. Calls me during March when it's a performance appraisal period and says to me, we want to move you. One of the first things that comes up to my mind is that I'm performing poorly at the moment. I'm not as good as I think. Yes, I'm not as good as I think I am, you know. And he said, no, you're really good. You've become a specialist. There's potential there. We need you to work on your presentation style, you know, how you style yourself, how you present yourself and all this stuff. And there's a perfect division or department to do that for you, you know. And I chose to trust him. In the beginning, I did not trust him. And again, I'm a big believer of trust the process, you know. And I chose to trust him. And that move is one of the biggest moves that has influenced my life and has shaped my career. I am not comfortable with being comfortable. You know, and this is why I made the recent move that I just made.
I'm just like looking at all these moves that are happening, and just when you're still talking, I mean, when you talk about like where you started in the department, I remember I was there as an intern, and when Lebo talks in the meeting, and I would look at her like, wow. Okay, and I was very shy, and she was so confident. I'm like, I want to be like her one day.
And I'm still shy.
That's why I said it as my role model, because I would look at the way you talk, like so confident and like in front of this big man, and you know,
But I was speaking facts, you know, and no, it's fine. I was speaking facts and data, and I don't like using my emotion. I'm a woman for sure, but I don't like using emotions to make decisions, you know. And at the time, I was having like, I call it a constructive discussion with a male who had so much more experience than me, and he was speaking feelings and I was speaking facts, you know.
And you do that a lot.
You know what I mean? And he was like, I want this to be done. I was like, but the data says this, and you know, the information is telling me this, and I want to help you, but am I helping you in the right place? You know, and this is what a senior manager saw and thought, this is it, you know, and this is what we want for our organization. And again, like I say, that moved, I went into a project office, and the beauty about a project office is that you're always in an uncomfortable space. If you're an industrial engineer, you will know that. There is maybe a section within the organization where someone will say, hey, I've got a bottleneck in my area, I need you to come and support me. You know nothing. You're not the system specialist. You're not the expert specialist of that environment. But they look at you for guidance and to support, you know. And that's how I became so comfortable with the uncomfortable, that what do I lean on when I'm in an environment like this or a situation like this? It's data, it's the information that I get from people, you interpret that, you analyze it, and you get the results. And that's just the beauty of industrial engineering, you know. So I leaned a lot on that experience as well when I came into that office. Fast forward 3.5 years. So it looks like my...
Like
so,
three.
Thank you. And now I'm at the point where I do a 3-year plan. Actually, I don't do 5-year plans now. I actually do 3-year plans. 3 years later, again, I find myself in a trainee manager position. One of the toughest positions by far.
Technical, I'm sure.
People topics.
Okay.
I had never been in that space. I think you know it now. People topics are very uncomfortable. I was hardly in operations. What was my biggest challenge there is that I had to lead a broken team, you know, and within the broken team I was leading my peers, I was leading people who are older than me, and how do you deal with this?
Completely relate.
You know what I mean? And how do I become a manager, but I'm respectful, and I don't want you to see me as a young child, but I want you to see me as a leader and someone that's trying to support you, you know? And that was some of the things that I was struggling with. And then finally came to a management position, you know, to answer,
Maybe like before you get to the managerial position, when you are a trainee manager, how did you overcome like the challenges that you came across with, like dealing with people? The reason why I ask I'm still struggling with the navigation. You're moving from being a specialist,
Correct.
where like you are process driven, and now you're moving into a position where you're managing people, and managing people is like more managing the deliverables.
Correct.
Like,
Correct.
how do you shift your mind from, okay, this is not process,
Yes.
these are people.
Yes.
Yeah, like their results are your reflection as a manager.
Correct.
Yeah.
You hit the nail on the head. So when you are in this leadership space, and I have a different definition between manager and leadership, and I'm hoping we can unpack it a little bit somewhere.
Yeah.
But when you're in this leadership space, you're correct. It's not about, I always say, are you managing the person or the outcome? You know, and you must choose, and you can't do both. You must choose. And you're right, in this leadership space, you're managing the outcome. You know, you support the individual to get to the outcome, but you're managing the results at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But when I was in that trainee position, I was very honest with myself. At the time, luckily, the same Taryn that we were referring to earlier was now my manager, you know. And I was very honest with her through the process. The first 3 months were the toughest for me.
Yeah.
That transition was tough. I found myself working long hours, trying to do other people's work because they were not doing their work, holding people accountable. I'm a softie. I struggled with that. Looking at an older person and saying, well, Budi, Bani, you know, we need to get this thing done. I struggled with that a lot. But what was beautiful is that I was honest, you know, and I reached out to Tara and I said, I need someone to support me through this journey. You know, what happened? They found a coach for me, an external coach for me.
Really?
Very much so. They found an external coach for me within the organization, and she was more like a counselor. I loved her. So they have something that they call executive training, and they have a big portfolio, and from that portfolio it's customized. So based on your needs, you get to choose which coach would work for you. You have an initial interview. With the initial interview, you get to suss each other out, if I may use that word, you know, to say, hey, I think we can have a trusting relationship there. And I met this amazing woman as well, you know, who helped me through this process. And every week we would have a check-in. And what I loved about the process is that there were tools that I could walk away with. You know, she would say to me, okay, Lebo, do you understand how your team feels about you? No, I haven't. I'm assuming so because I have one-on-ones with them. She'd say, how about you go do a survey? You know, anonymous survey. You're going to get good critical feedback from that. Okay, did that. You know,
the feedback was uncomfortable.
It was uncomfortable, but I had someone to unpack this thing, you know, with me, where I'd say, I've done this now, and this is the stuff that comes up. What must I do now? Okay, what bothers you? What doesn't bother you? Let's work through it systematically, you know. And it's through that process of honesty. I think sometimes as I don't want to say as females, but sometimes as leaders, of course the expectations are high, but we want to do things ourselves, and we're scared to say, I don't know, or I don't feel comfortable, or I'm not sure what to do now, you know. And through that process, I really learned to say, I want to fail trying. I want to fail trying, you know. If I give up, if I really throw this in this towel, I must know that I've done everything. And at that point, I knew that I hadn't done everything, you know. And so I asked for that, and I was honest, and I said, I need a coach.
Sure. And what I'm picking from this is the vulnerability.
Correct.
Like you allow yourself to be vulnerable. You I don't know how to put it, but your weaknesses.
Yes, exactly.
You didn't hide your weaknesses and make them your strength. Because when you're in a leading position, you sometimes feel like, I don't want them to see that I'm struggling with
this.
Yes. Yeah, it's a...
which is the biggest misconception I also think, because it's self-sabotage in a way. You know that it's your weakness, but every time when you pitch to work, you're acting. You know, you're acting as if, I've got this, but you know you don't. So you self-sabotage. And every time when you knock off, you're in this miserable spiral, but every time when you have to pitch at work, you're acting. And I didn't want to act. Like, one of the one of the reflections I had with myself, because I also was conflicted about whether I wanted to be a leader or not, especially during this trainee manager phase, you know, experiencing what I was experiencing and exhausting as it was. I mean, again, management and leadership are two different things for me. Management is, I rely heavily on processes and systems to make my decision. I make an example. Someone is AWOL, doesn't come to work. The easiest thing when you're a manager is, hey, the policy says you must sign here now. You don't come to work, you know. A leader will still, you know, execute the systems and the HR policies. But a leader is also interested in the why.
Like what's the cost of this?
Thank you. Why? Yeah. Why didn't you come to work? This behavior is bothering me. I want to address the behavior. You know, it's not managing what you've done. Yeah. You know, I want to address that behavior. Why? And that is exhausting. Yeah. You know, imagine if you have 20 people in that space and you're managing every single one of them.
And you know, when you really talk about identifying your weaknesses and seek for help where you need help. I remember when I moved from a position where I'm managing people, I was struggling, but I would go to my manager and say, no, everything is fine, you know. And then when I was talking to my mentor, I was able to be vulnerable and I explained to her what was happening. And she was like, why are you not talking to your manager about this? I was like, no, I'm scared because she would use it against me on my performance.
Yes, exactly.
And she was like, no,
that's not the case.
That's not the case.
Yeah.
So you must ask for help, and she's the best person who's going to help you.
Correct.
And really, it has really helped me a lot to really work on my weaknesses and not look at them as something that will affect my performance. And it has really improved my performance.
Yes.
So thank you for sharing that, because really I think us as ladies, we want to act strong, whereas, you know, we need support. Yeah, not just ladies, I think anyone.
Correct, yes. And I always say to people, the reason why certain companies and organizations have things like leadership evaluations, or even they make you go through like psychometric tests before you take a leadership role, it's not to necessarily check what you can do, it's but to check where you need support, you know. And the reason why people don't get it right is because even when they go for those assessments and evaluations, they're putting up an act.
Yeah.
But for me, when I recruit someone, I want to know, I'll ask you, what's your weakness? And I expect you to tell me what's your weakness. Maybe I'm too controlling, you know, maybe I don't give my team creativity, I struggle with flexibility. I want to know those things so that I know where to support you in the event I decide you are my preferred candidate.
Sure.
But if you act like you know everything, then you're blindsiding me as well, and I'm not sure what I'm conforming or committing to. You know what I mean? And so I like being honest with myself. I again, going back to that discussion, I made that conscious decision. I was like, if I'm going to take up this role, I have to be level in that role. Yeah. I'm not going to act. Yeah. And I also went back and I reflected a little bit. I was like, okay, there's maybe some females already that have been like, oh, they're tough. They're tough. I'm not so tough. And I remember also having a discussion with my manager at the time saying, yeah, but are they leaders like me in the organization? Yeah. You know, I'm soft. Are they leaders like me in the organization? And she said to me, it was a lady again, you know, she said to me, Lebo, you're fine.
And I think a lot of ladies ask themselves that question, because I remember somebody said to me, you are too soft. You're not going to be a leader.
Why not?
And then I was like, you know what? I need a training. I want to work on being like fiery red. Yes. And I remember that lady was like, another lady who was a trainer. She was like, no, you don't need that. No. And then it was like Nelson Mandela was leading from, you know, I was like, okay.
Thank you. You know what I mean? You just need to be, someone saw you.
Yeah.
Saw you. Yeah. You know? And said, this is it. So why are you changing the you?
Sure.
I don't get it. You know what I mean? Yeah. But I also had to learn those things. And the asking for the support helps you to reflect and see those things and be like, no man, this is me. They want me. Yeah. They want this person. They didn't want that person, you know, who's tough. They wanted this person, you know? And if you're a tough person and you're brave and you get chosen. Good. They wanted that brave, tough person in that specific position.
Yeah.
But in this case, they wanted the softie in this position.
And now moving on to the bigger role. I was reading this book called, firstly, 2 books that I could really relate to a lot, like looking at this interview. Firstly, the book called Winning. That book was saying that a lot of opportunities happen by luck, right? Meaning that maybe like we usually be at the right place at the right time, right?
Yeah.
And then at the same time, looking at you being a lady in a male-dominated environment, and you now becoming a manager. I'm sure you were told before that no, you were put there because maybe just to fill in the numbers.
Exactly.
Looking at the government employment equity, that we must have ladies.
Exactly.
And then you don't qualify for the role.
Yeah.
Yes.
You're a number, you're a point.
You're a point.
Yeah.
But yet you are leading this big department that is responsible for basically a continuous improvement for the whole organization, which is like really a big role.
Yes.
Now, what do you say about that? And just looking at your journey as a manager.
Yeah, so I agree with everything that you say. Definitely, life is about being at the right place at the right time, and maybe speaking about this whole system of triple BEE and empowering females, specifically black females. I was there at the right time, I believe, but I also believe that I played my part to be the right candidate that is there at the right time. You know what I mean? And you're correct. I remember one of the biggest conflicting emotions that I had when I was told that you got the job. Yeah, so it's all good, because in the first day or week or so, you're getting these lovely messages, congratulations, you made it, you're excited, you're telling family,
like you're getting all the messages we
celebrating. I'm a friend.
Like levels, like different levels. We're moving from a level 5 where most people are at, and then now level 4, which is like,
yeah. And it's good because you also feel like I am the change. You know what I mean? It's powerful. It's really powerful. And while you're still in your bubble, then you start, this information somehow makes it back to you.
Yeah.
And you hear that people are saying, oh yeah, they finally closing the gap, those points, that point system, it's happening now. And then you are in this conflicted space, where you're now starting to say, is it really like a point system? Did they really put me there because I'm just another black person, that they're trying to fill the gap with? And it becomes really this emotional space that you're in. Sure. But it's important to really get yourself out of that space, and it's not myself really, it's the people that are around me as well, seeing the likes of you guys coming to me and saying, wow, you've worked so hard, you've made it as well. I always say in your life you always have to have like either a hype man, hype woman, a hype team. You always have to have people who are reminding you of your capabilities, where you come from, and what your potentials are, And those people kicked in really quickly to say, it's fine. If you are a point system, it's fine. And it speaks again to being at the right place at the right time. But the question is, how many people were in the nomination process? And you were then afforded the opportunity and the responsibility to become that first black woman.
Yeah.
Take that responsibility.
Sure.
Don't dwell on the process. You are there now. Take that responsibility.
And then again, looking at the organization trusting you with that department that is responsible for the whole company. We're looking at more than 30,000 employees. That's
the responsibility. And this is where now, you move from self-sabotaging to realizing your capabilities, realizing how much has been put, on your lap, and that responsibility to say, like you say, the whole organization, to manage that and to optimize that is a big responsibility.
Yeah. But looking at where you started from primary, high school, university, and where you are now, it seems like your journey was written somewhere. Like, who has been your role model? Or like, I believe it didn't just happen.
No, it didn't.
Yeah, and I mean, going back to now, it's like your goals are like 3 years. Like, okay, 3 years, we move onto another role. What's next? Yeah.
Guys, it's so funny. I've had men influence my life in the biggest way.
Okay.
Men. It's crazy. Starting from UNISA, met someone, Busiso Koza, don't forget that guy. That guy was one of the first guys who was like, Lebo, there's an internship at Barloworld Equipment. Linked me up with another guy called Tsepo who was working at Barloworld. Long story short, was an intern at Barloworld, you know. While I was going through my Barloworld internship program, still connecting with Sibusisa, he was working at Denal at the time, so already an inspiration.
He was not even there.
You know?
Barloworld.
No, he wasn't. Working at Denal at the time, still motivating me, still saying, hey, what's the next thing? I think I've been blessed with having people who push me in life, you know? And went through the Barloworld process. But I forgot a very important part actually. When I was in UNISA, I didn't tell you why I changed from mechanical, because I said I registered for mechanical.
Yes.
Right? I registered for mechanical, and as I was studying, I met a guy called MK. I don't know if you know MK. He works at MA. He is the plant manager at MA.
I'm supposed to interview him as well.
Please do. You will be highly inspired.
His
You will be highly inspired.
Yeah.
I met MK, he was working at Nissan at the time. We were neighbors, literally in the same block of flats, right? He's my neighbor. He sees me one day, he's like, hey man, I see you all the time. Yeah, are you going to school? What's happening with you? I'm like, no, I'm going to school, UNISA and stuff like that. He's like, what are you studying? Mechanical. Why are you studying mechanical? Yeah, sort of like my fallback plan, you know. I wanted to become a pilot. It gave me believing destiny, not doing my research, you know. Ended up with mechanical engineering. He's like, no man, do industrial engineering, you know. This guy goes out of his way, gets research on industrial engineering, comes back, brings me a pile of stuff the next day. He says, read up about industrial engineering. You won't go wrong. Wow. I read up about industrial engineering. I'm convinced about industrial engineering. I applied for industrial engineering. And that's how I got into industrial engineering.
But was it like first year or
that was now
year?
my second year. Remember I was supposed to go to UJ?
Even the modules are shared.
They're the same. Yeah. You know what I mean?
First year modules
I didn't
mechanical
exactly.
and industrial.
Another reason why I didn't end up going to UJ, because for UJ I applied for mechanical, and now I'm changing my career.
Wow.
I'm doing industrial. I go to UNISA. Is it possible? Of course it's possible. First year is the same, you know, common subjects and stuff like that. And then I moved on there. And ever since that day, he's just been in my life. He's one of the few people, actually, when I make big decisions in my life, like now moving in supply chain, obviously, I like to have someone who is more or less in the same career path to say, does it make sense? Having that soundboard, I like having a sounding board in the career to say, I'm thinking I want to move into the space. Does it make sense? Do you see the risks? Do you not? Amazing guy to actually help you to become your sounding board. He's one of the people who did that for me. My mom as well, I think just her being part of my growth, my career and all of that, really good in supporting me with that. But I've just had men like in my life supporting me. I've really been blessed. I mean, I had back in the days when I was still also in high school, I had someone who was working for an aviation, what do they call it now? Aviation services, you know, and just those people imparting like that knowledge and influence in my life has helped me a lot. I think the biggest benefit is my brother is 3 years older than me. So his friends are these people that I refer to, you know, who are chartered accountants, who work in aviation, so every time I saw them, I'd be like, what now? What's next? Until this day, when I have challenging discussions with men, I text them, I'm like, how do I deal with the situation like this? And they guide me, you know? So I've had actually men throughout the journey that have supported me through this process. I don't have a mentor, and that's something we spoke about.
Yes. And I think I also did a video on mentorship, on how to choose a mentor. And that was also a trigger, because when we spoke about mentorship, you said you are looking for somebody like you. And then when I was like thinking about it, that actually if you're looking for somebody like you, it's like you're seeking more for validation.
Correct.
You don't want to, it's so uncomfortable when somebody's telling you, no, Lebu, you have to grow in this area. What do you think about that?
It's good. It's true. It's again comfort. I think my first my first deflection is always comfort, and I always have to remind myself that you have to be comfortable with the uncomfortable. Not only with career, and because I'm a softie, I'm very much aware of how I speak to people, and I'm also very much aware of how I perceive myself. I'm a big advocate of feedback. I think feedback helps you to grow. Very good. But I'm very also highly conscious of feedback. It must come from a person that I trust. Because if it doesn't come from a person that I trust, I might perceive it in the wrong way. I'm very much big on mental health, positivity, thinking well. And that's why I'm very hesitant about a mentor, because I know it's meant to challenge you and all of that, but I have to find that person that I connect with and that I'm safe with, so that it comes from a place.
But also from what you explained, also that like the guys who have guided you through your journey, those could be your mentor, but just informal.
True.
Like those are like mentors.
They are actually. They are.
So maybe you're looking for someone to say, hey, let's have a session, like maybe like a repetitive sessions.
But isn't that where the growth really happens?
Yeah, it depends.
Like the
it
journey.
Depends, because I mean, look, like in the beginning of your career, maybe Swu was your mentor at that space.
Career.
And then now, like, I mean, when you're moving from this position where you are in now to supply chain, you also have MK where you called to say, hey, do you think this is a good idea?
Correct.
He advised you changing like your career also from mechanical to industrial. So that's like mentorship. It's just that it's not like a structure where you like formally writing things down. But that's mentorship.
I agree. If you thought that way.
That's mentorship.
It's flexible mentorship.
Exactly. And sometimes that's helpful because I don't know. But mentorship is tricky, because you like dropping someone because you feel like we don't agree, like me and you are not on the same page.
Okay.
It's like you're gonna jump from this mentor to that mentor, but meeting those guys that are advising you informally, it's also not bad.
Exactly. Because it's about the need at the time. Maybe MK is like when I need direction and I need confirmation when I'm going in the right direction. He's more that. When I'm struggling with something at hand and trying to maybe unpack how someone's feeling, I venture into someone else. So I think it's about the need.
It's about the need, and also you had coaching, so I think that's also important. Also, through your journey. So now, how was it like to be in that position as a woman, being one of the only women in the company in that position? In most meetings, I'm sure you were the only female. So how was it like for you?
It's very lonely. No one tells you that. It's very lonely. Firstly, starting with the team, You move from being part of the team to being, the person with authority. At the time I did not know that it's somewhat a form of respect, the way your team behaves, but at the time it felt like you're being excluded. You will be sitting in the office, you hear people laughing, you step out, and you're like, at first you think you're paranoid. And then you're like, okay, it's fine, And then you start hearing things like, did you see it in the group? That group that, and you're like, but we have our own group in the team. So is there another group? It's very lonely. You know what I mean? It's you really don't feel like you belong. Outside the team, you're entering this new team now, which is a leadership team, right? You go to these big meetings and you're like, be myself? You're still trying to, like, you know, understand the situation again. Who do I sit next to? Am I allowed to be myself? It's lonely. No one tells you that. And you have to come out of you have to find ways of coming out of that loneliness. It also gets tough, you know, because sometimes people also question your intention. They also feel like you have the power now. If you genuinely also coming in and you're saying, hey guys, I have an idea. Someone thinks, oh, now she wants to use her power, you know? And you get dismissed a lot now because you're a woman and you think you've got power. And it's like, that's not the case. I'm just coming as an individual, you know, that just wants to share my perspective. And again, it's that loneliness again, when you really feel like you don't belong. But I think with time, you also, I'm a big believer of letting the process play out, you know, play your part, go home, deal with it, whichever way you want to deal with it, whether it's crying, whether it's planning, plotting, doing whatever you need to do, it's good. But I also quickly learned that creating a relationship with someone in my team that could be maybe my soundboard again, you know, if I have ideas, just to run those ideas past them to say, do you think it would work? You know, what do you think? What does the team think? You know, creating a link with someone, you know, helped me to come out of that loneliness. But it's really like a lonely space. You doubt yourself a lot. People think you're there for the wrong intention. Going back to the whole triple BE thing, you're a point. You're just a number, you're a point, you know, keep quiet, relax, you've made it now, you know, that's all you need to know. And people question that intention, so it becomes very tough. It really becomes very tough.
But how did you overcome that? I mean, like being lonely, I really understand. I'm struggling because I moved from a position where the guys, like, you know, we are one.
Yes.
You know, we talk about our manager together.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, what did you see?
Exactly.
That doesn't make sense. And now you become that person, and now it feels like, how, guys, what are we talking about now? And then they look at you like, who are you again?
Exactly.
Yes. How did you overcome that?
So what I like about our team is that because we're a project office and we act more like consultants, feedback becomes one of the very important thing in our business, because we have to give each other feedback so that when we step out as a team, we are one and we are able to defend each other. So we fight together inside, but once we step out together, we are unified. You know what I mean? And I really wanted to use that tool as well to help myself. So I started asking a few individuals, like, what's your take?
How do you think I'm doing?
How do you think I'm doing? Surprisingly, they were honest with me. I did not like the feedback. I asked for it.
What was one of the feedback? I'm interested to know.
So one of I did one silly thing. And again, it's this not knowing the boundaries when you move from a specialist level to a managerial level. You know, we had this presentation. I had to summarize the team's achievement for the past year. It was the beginning of the year. I think I got my promotion November. I think end of November that time. And so I had to summarize what these guys were doing. I was not part of that.
Like the whole year.
Yeah, I wasn't there.
Because you moved to another department.
Correct.
Yeah.
So I had to summarize what the team had done. I did it all by myself. You know?
You didn't consult the team?
No, I didn't.
Where was the information coming from?
It's available.
Yeah.
We summarize everything every single quarter. You know, all the information is available on the server. So I summarize the information. Here we're going to this big conference. It's an international conference. Every manager is supposed to now give a summary of what the team has done and the plan. There goes level summarizing the information. You know, and as I'm speaking, you know, when you get those cold stares. Like
you can feel the flow when they're starting you with.
Yes, like, where does this come from? What is she saying?
Yeah.
And all that stuff, you know? But that was one of the instances that happened. So, of course, I got the feedback to say, yeah, but that you sold it like your work.
Oh my gosh.
And you were not even there. You know? And I was like, okay. That's my action, but how did it make people feel? Again, me being a leader, wanting to understand the impact, you know? How did that people don't trust you now. Oh, whoa. And at the time, I took trust for something small. You know, I was like, okay, now we can rebuild this trust. I was downplaying it. I didn't realize that trust is a big thing in leadership, you know? So I downplayed it. I was like, okay, next time I'll do that. Okay, next time I'll consult. I thought that was the remedy. But I didn't realize that I bruised that relationship now, you know? And the trust was affected because the question was, how many more rounds are you in where you're selling these ideas and concepts as your own, you know? And yeah, I got that feedback and I learned from that feedback. And again, for me, being in that leadership role, first 12 months was the hardest.
Sure.
The hardest. I mean, I even had sessions with my senior manager where I was like, is leadership about counseling people? Is this what I've signed up for? Is leadership about defending myself all the time? You know, is this what leadership is about? But when I also started building relationships with people, then I realized, and when I also started stepping away as well, you know, those boundaries are important. Again, what you said in the beginning, not managing the people but the outcome, you know, and again, not being a manager and being a leader and understanding that you coach people, you train people, you guide people, you know, you're there to assist, you're not there to now do their work for them, you know, and also developing people and giving them a platform where they get recognized as well is very critical, you know. As a leader, you don't get recognized for your team's outcome. You know, your team getting recognition is your recognition.
Your reflection.
Thank you. Thank you.
I always say if my my team is doing well, is a reflection on me.
You.
I don't want to take all the work, to do all the work.
Yes.
I want to empower them
Correct.
to do their own projects and then.
But no one teaches you that.
Yeah.
You know, you feel like you have to say, we
that
did
that
this,
true.
But do you start realizing that if you are in the plant and someone maybe in your team gets that award, it's my win too.
But I would not when did you realize that was the case?
I think through the hard learnings. I mean, the experiences taught me that. My sessions with my E3, it was a male at the time as well. And again, I say, for me, there's a balance. You'll hear in the beginning of my story, it's females that identified my potential, but I had men mentoring me, like we've said now, that flexible mentoring.
Yeah.
But there's also males that played really a big part now in this leadership space. And my E3 was one of them. He was German, fortunately. And he for a German leader, he was soft as well. You know, he wasn't so KPI oriented. And he really helped me through that process. He was like, yeah, leadership is about that. And he's very much about storytelling. And he told his stories. And it was really about coming back and reflecting again. It was me reaching out to my old Indian male manager, the one that saw me and said, move into this role, and saying, hey, you know, I'm in this space now. Can you just remind me again? What did you see that time? Because sometimes you need those. I did. I called him and I still keep not frequent communication, but as I progress in my life, I drop a mail. I'm like, guess what? You know, now I'm here. Now I'm here, and now I'm here, and now I'm here.
Which is good.
And then when I struggle as well, I do that. I'm like, so what would you do if you know, I get to the point, because these people are leaders, they don't have time now to unpack and maybe have long conversations. Like, I'm in this sort of a dilemma, what would you do? And again, it's being honest. I'm always honest to myself before anyone else. And I say, Lebo, you're struggling with this, but you can do it. You know, I'm still my own cheerleader. You can do it. But how do you get out of this mess now? And it's really like having those engagements with people, being honest with my team. I have a fantastic team. They gave me that feedback.
Yeah.
You know, and I knew. And I realized that it's not a measurement of myself, it's of my team.
Sure.
And that makes a good leader.
And now you're in a position where the money is good, you've grown with the team, everything is nice. Why the change? You're moving into another department. Supply chain, which I think, looking at logistics, that's what it's known for. That it's hectic.
Yeah.
And you're like, I'm moving from this department where it's so flexible, you can work from home, you can, and now I'm taking on this big challenge where everyone says it's a it's one of the most hardest departments.
Yeah.
To say.
Yeah. It's like operations a bit, right?
Yes. It's directly linked to operations.
Yeah, I still ask myself, did you make a crazy decision? But it started with this, not last year, but 2021, 2021, I went to this leadership program. They call it Integrate.
I'm
sure
doing
you've done
it.
it.
I'm doing it now. It's amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I did Integrate, women in leadership.
Yeah.
So I did that, and luckily for me at the time, I met up with other females that had just started, but also other females that were sitting in Pretoria that had so much experience within this leadership space, you know. And one of the questions that they asked, which I didn't realize, and every time now someone asks me this question, it actually bothers me because I'm also still trying to find the answer to it. When someone says, "Who is Kodani?"
Yeah.
You know? And they said that. They said, "Who is..." I don't know whether it's how this person asked the question, you know, or it's maybe it was the space that I was in. Remember, it was that first year that I was in, I was conflicted. I was feeling like I'm not performing again because I believe in coaching and all those things. I thought, there's this fabulous program now that's starting. Let me do this thing. Maybe it's going to help me, you know. And I started it and who's Lebo? I can't say, "Hi, I'm Lebo." Lebo's my name.
Yeah.
I can't say Lebo is a
manager at that time.
That's my title.
Or a mom.
You know, I can't say I'm a mom. I can't say I'm a mom, but I'm a mom because I'm a mother to someone. But who am I?
Yeah, without all of these other stuff.
You know, who am I? You know, and that hit me hard in that session. I was like, who am I? And in that session, you also go through your purpose.
Yeah.
You know, what's your purpose? Why did you take on this responsibility? What's your purpose in life? What do you want to leave behind? We did this exercise where they say, something unfortunate has happened to you. You've passed on now. Can you write either a memoir, testament of what you would like someone to say about you?
Yeah.
You know? And those exercises, they make you reflect a little bit about, why am I doing this? Where do I want to be?
Yeah.
You know?
And sorry to interrupt before I forget. The reason why I also like to interview people is also for them to tell their stories. So that if something happens, at least you are the one who told your story, not somebody else.
Correct. Yeah. I love that.
Sorry
I love that. Yes.
Sorry to cut you.
Yes.
Yeah.
So exactly that, you know, what would they say about me in the event something happens? You know, and I didn't take the time to think about that. And it goes back again to your question of saying, how did you change that? Because I started realizing that I am just living in the day. I am just taking this horrible or positive feedback, however I view it. But what is my purpose? Why am I here? Yeah. Why did I take on this responsibility? You know, and it was a reminder of that. And so that Integrate process, it's like an onion, you know, you're unpeeling all these different layers. And it then again started with, I didn't realize that my progression in life was actually like this 3-year phase, you know, and this is where I picked it up now in Integrate, when you're telling your story, where do you come from, and how you progress through life. And then I made a commitment to myself. I said I have to figure out who I am in this leadership space, you know, especially in this role. I said, I'm definitely not going to quit, you know, because it would be easy for me to move because I didn't know what was happening there. Yeah. I said, I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to fix it. I'm going to grow from it. And once I've grown and I got the lessons, I'm going to move on, you know. And I said, I want to allow myself the opportunity to know when to leave, you know, and to know what I want out of the process. I'm now in the space where I don't want to be the expert. I don't want to be the expert.
I hate being an expert. Like,
I don't want to be the expert.
And you know, thank you for saying that. And the reason why I say this is because I was talking to someone that this is what I'm looking for, and they said, but you just started here. Why don't you first polish this and then you can think of something else. I'm like, I don't want to become an expert in this role.
No.
Like,
No. I'm here to come influence, do my part and move on.
Move on.
Thank you. And there's nothing wrong with being an expert, you know. There are people who want to be like the gurus of things, who want to be the ones where you say, guys, this thing is not going to move unless we call Kodani. There are those people who are comfortable with having that sort of knowledge. I don't need to be that. I want to be, and I was thinking about it the other day. I was like, I want to be an influencer, but in corporate. Right? We get people who influence in different kind of. I want to be that female black girl in the organization that's, because that's also a form of influence. And we're showing people that it is possible.
It is.
You know? So, yeah, now I've embarked on this thing. I was in my previous role. By the way, I'm 3 weeks into my new role. 3 weeks into my new role.
And how has it been?
I'm starting again. The same things that we're speaking about, the loneliness.
Yes.
Guys. But again, now I know. So I'm dealing with it differently.
But I'm sure this time around it's better because you are leading people that you don't know. You're meeting new people. Sure. And like where you like the previous role where it's the people that you worked with, you're in the same level with, and now you become their manager.
Correct.
Or maybe that's how I feel. Like, please tell us what do you think?
So there are benefits to both. When you grow up in a team, I call it that. You know, you grow up in the team. The nice thing is that people know you. You know, they know you. Even if there's room to make mistakes because people will say, but it's label, guys. You know, she didn't mean that. You know, but obviously also friendships mean that you have to create boundaries, and sometimes those boundaries are uncomfortable.
Like,
you know?
Hey, I'm your manager now, not your friend.
Thank you. You know, like
yes,
we don't laugh
friends,
now.
Yeah, we are friends outside, but not here.
Thank you. You know what I mean? So you have to establish those boundaries. Moving into a new space, depending on whether you have the experience, I'm coming in as someone who doesn't have supply chain experience, you know?
Yeah.
And again, self-sabotage. The critic in me was like, I'm sure they're thinking, what is happening now? Why would they bring someone who's, again, self-critic in me, which is something that I will work on. But I know the symptoms, you know, like when that person is behaving like this, okay, I know what that is.
Yeah.
When no one is coming to my office and I see emails coming in, I'm like, okay, I know what this is now. I know the symptoms now.
I'm thinking of the book I'm reading currently. It's called How to Analyze People.
I'm in that phase. Phase where I'm analyzing people and I'm seeing their reactions, I'm seeing their behavior, but now I know, right?
Yeah.
Like I said in the beginning, in my first role, when I stepped out of the room, or when the guys were laughing, I stepped out of the room. I saw it as I'm being excluded. But now I know, and also after having conversations with them, when I step out of the room, it could be that they're speaking about something that I don't need to know about because it's, you know, I'm their manager, and it's got nothing to do with me, you know. And now I know those things. So even now when I step out and people are quiet, I'm like, okay. I'm like,
just what it is.
Okay, you know, and it's fine, you know. But yeah, the change is uncomfortable, change is lonely. But you have to give it time and you have to be kind to yourself. And that's what I've told myself now, starting this new chapter. I'm like, I don't know it all. Don't expect me to make all the decisions. Let's have a conversation. I can guide you, give me information so I can help you. And I've made it clear to my guys as well. I was like, give me time to also come on board, you know? Don't put unnecessary pressure on me. So I'm very kind to myself.
And what are you looking forward to in this new role? Can be personally or
the growth, definitely. The growth. So I've been in this automotive space for 10 years, being in the planning space for actually the 10 years.
10 years.
Yeah, the 10 years, you know what I mean? I've always been in planning, and now I'm venturing into something that's very different, you know, so I'm excited about the change. I am learning so much. I feel like I haven't been learning, I haven't been applying my mind. It's good for me just to be in that space as well. I'm excited about conforming and confirming some of the things that I feel like I'm good with now when it comes into this leadership space. Because, you know, when you're leading people and it's been 3 years and all of that, you get comfortable, you feel like, I've got this. But do you really have it, you know? And I want to test myself again, you know? So I'm testing myself again. I'm really excited about that. But I'm excited about what happens after 3 years. I'm already, like, you know, again, 2 years. So it's the 2-year planning, you know, while I'm in the role, and then the 3rd year is the execution. So I will start the planning officially 2024, and then maybe 27 we meet again.
Executive manager coming, I believe.
No, I'm excited.
Because now it's more of a lateral move.
Correct.
So I'm sure, like,
definitely.
She said it in this channel. Yes. Senior manager coming.
And let's see.
2026. We'll check this kid out.
No pressure.
I'm writing her journey. So yeah, we're coming to the end of the interview. Thank you so much for really giving me the opportunity to interview you. I've really learned a lot. I've also just started my leadership journey, and I learned a lot from this interview. I will keep consulting with you. And are you mentoring anyone?
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
This topic of mentoring, I love it. And that's the reason why I went also into this leadership space. When you have GDPs under you and you see how they grow and all of that, it inspires you to become a leader, you know. And that's what happened to me when and that's why I took on leadership. But I am mentoring a couple of ladies.
That's
you
good.
know.
Yeah.
I don't have any men in my books, but mentoring also takes time. You know, it really takes time. It's good, and I want to be accessible, and that's something that we spoke about. You know, when you started your corporate hub and career hub, I had the same intention as well, because someone influenced my life, you know, and I feel like I have that responsibility to do the same as well, you know, to impact other people, to tell the stories like this, to have those discussions, to coach and to guide as well. So I really want to find ways, platforms to extend that, you know, to people. It mustn't be only to people close to me or within my network, but also, like, I want to be like an extension to people even out of East London and the Eastern Cape region as well. But to answer your question, yes, I'm mentoring. I am.
That's great. And the next step, we said we're going to go to different schools to motivate the kids in high school or primary.
Yes.
So that's definitely going to happen.
Look out for us.
Yes. So in the beginning, you also mentioned that when you started in the planning department, you asked, how can one become a manager? And I really like that conversation because it's one of the conversations I have with my mentees that let's look at your roadmap. What do you want to be, to become a specialist or a manager? And they look at me like, but I just started. I'm like, yes, the reason why I asked that, I want to put yourself in a position where you are positioning yourself to become a specialist or position yourself to become a manager, meaning that in every discussion that you involve, you automatically lead most of the discussions.
I agree.
Not only leading and not being part of the team, still being part of the team, but I think it's important that you position yourself in a certain position. So what would you advise somebody that is starting off in their career and really they would like to become a manager one day, or somebody that's like going into a journey to becoming a manager?
You have to be intentional, you know. We had the other conversation one day. We spoke about it's important to be intentional, you know, and people must be aware of your intentions. I think the women, we are very modest, you know. we always feel like if we tell people what we want,
Yeah.
we are being very abrasive or too loud, or and you're not. I'm just telling you my intention.
Yeah.
This is what I want. And I love that you encourage that, through your conversations. Because how do you help someone if you don't know where they're going?
Exactly.
So it's important to be super intentional. And I encourage that also within my teams. I tell my guys to hold me accountable.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if you said you want to go into that program and I said it's possible,
then
follow up.
Accountable.
Follow up, ask me, because that's what you want, and I said it's possible, so follow up. So be intentional about your career, tell people what you want, understand the possibilities and the probabilities, and my story again, even if they look as slim as they are, keep pushing, keep pushing. Going back to the conversation that you and I had, we spoke about, and I loved what you said, and I want you to say it again. I said, let the work speak for you, and I know how you're gonna come at it, and I said, speak. I'm a high believer of work ethic. It's one thing to say I want to be a leader, but you don't put in the hard work. There's no congruency there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So put in the effort. When you're given an opportunity, I always say run with it.
Yeah.
Like if someone says you are going to be my stand-in manager today, run with it, so that confuse your manager so much that even if she's thinking of giving that position to someone else, she's like, but Kodani did such a great job, This is inevitably Kodani's responsibility now moving forward to be my stand-in, Run with it and don't look behind. But work ethic is good, and let your work speak for you.
Yes, definitely. And this was really coming from the conversation that we were having. Somebody was saying that I worked very hard, and the question was, does your manager know about all these things? Or not only your manager, the people that you're also servicing, do they know about the amount of pressure and pain that you go through in order for you to deliver this result?
Correct.
And if they don't know, it's just like, the results are here, it's done. Hey, have the discussion. Like, present your work.
Yeah. So it's work hard, and what Kodani is saying on top of that, speak about your work. It's that intention again,
Yes.
Sell yourself, show up.
Yeah.
If you've given that opportunity, someone says, I want to discuss your future with you, come prepared, plan it, come with a detailed plan. If someone says there's an opportunity for you to maybe go into that space, don't shy away, I've seen so many people grow where they were in this project management office, and an opportunity came where a CEO support said, hey, I need someone to come and do a GDP role to come and support me. And one of my specialists took on that opportunity. So they were like, Lebo, you know what? I'm going to take that opportunity. They ran with that opportunity. Today, they are supporting the site leader.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's about taking that opportunity and making the most out of it.
And a lot of people also think of loyalty, like, who can't move from this role because I'm loyal to my manager, and
don't feel guilty.
Yeah.
I've seen that. That is so true. I've had conversations with so many young people where they're saying, I think I'm good, but are you going to be upset if I move? And I'm like, I'll be upset if you stay.
Yeah.
And you don't create value in that team.
I always say to my team, we get a lot of people that come for training, and they complain that, Kodani, why do we always get people coming for training? And then I was like, look at it differently. The guys that are coming for training, look at them as you empowering them to take over from you in order for you to move into the next level.
Exactly.
So use that opportunity.
Exactly. It's succession planning.
Yes. So thank you so much. Is there a question that you think I did not cover? And if there is, how would you have answered it?
No, I think we've covered all the aspects of this leadership. I think we unpacked management
really
as well.
Wanted to focus on.
Yeah, we covered management, the difference between management and leadership. But we covered all the aspects of it.
Yeah.
The story is it's possible, and I think the message is, I don't think today I said anything profound. I think I said all the things that people have always been saying. You know what I mean? It's about trusting the journey. It's about the hard work. It's about preparation is key. It's about, if you face any adversities, find another plan, you
Yeah.
know, like me not applying at some point. I found another plan. It's about having that dream, you know, and just pushing yourself as well. And once you get there, don't get comfortable. Think about, where do I go now? What's the next move? And what I love is that women are coming up more, you know, and that's what I really like about it. We're really starting now to own the space.
Yeah.
We're not shy about it.
We're supporting each
And
other.
we're supporting each other.
So
We're
I
supporting
really like the fact that you are accessible. Every single time I give you a call. And sometimes I give Lewe a call thinking like, hey, she's a manager, not a friend. But I really appreciate, you know, to be accessible. When I need an advice, you give me that advice. I remember when I became a specialist, I gave you a call and you gave me an advice. And really, every single time I meet with Lewo, every conversation that we have is very fruitful. That's why I think with a lot of like the discussion is like, remember the conversation
exactly.
we had. So hey, the people that are in your circle,
That's
you must be
important.
very,
Yeah,
you know,
that's
very important.
That's
So
very
thank you
important.
so much.
Thank you for this opportunity. I really enjoyed myself. Hey.
It feels like I don't know. Like I feel like I want to go on and on and on because wow, it's been very inspiring, your journey. So
Thank you so much. I hope I get an invitation. We see 2026 maybe.
yes, 20.
We see what happens. Not excited. Yeah.
Okay, so thank you so much for watching. If you have any comment or any question for Lebu, please comment here. I'm also gonna leave her LinkedIn handle so that if you have any questions that you would like to ask her directly, you can also inbox her. Or if you want mentorship, right? Don't shy away so that you can get in contact with her. So thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.